Hi, this is Jason from Horrific Nightmares, and welcome back to Alternate Cuts. Now, this is the segment Joe and I do where we take a film and we explore a different cut of it. It could be a director's cut, it could be a work print, but you get the picture. Today, we're going to be talking about Deep Red, the Hatchet Murders. Now, Deep Red, aka the Hatchet Murders, is a 1975 film. And I'm not going to get to the minutes yet, and I'll explain why later. But this is directed by Dario Argento. This stars David Hemmings as Marcus Daly, Daria Nicolodi as Gianna Brezzi, and Gabriel Loria as Carlo. Okay, now this is where the minutes come in. If you've been following the channel, you know that Joe and I did Deep Red for the Video Nasties challenge, because it is part of that challenge. Should look familiar. This is the Blu-ray that I watched for Deep Red, which is right here. And this Blu-ray has two different cuts of the film. Now, Joe and I watched the director's cut, which is 2 hours and 6 minutes. It also happens to have a cut of the film that is 1 hour and 44 minutes. When I was originally, well, there's a reason why we watched a shorter cut. We ended up watching the 1 hour and 40-minute cut. And here's the reason. I'm a big fan of Argento. I love Italian cinema. But Deep Red, I'm just not a fan. In the 2 hours and 6 minutes that we watched it, I find it incredibly boring. I mean, there is stuff about it I liked. And a lot of people who were part of our stream on New Year's Eve, we did talk about this a little bit. There's a lot about Deep Red that I like, but I felt like I was just waiting for it to end. And I just found it to be so drawn out and so padded with filler. And it just really just didn't appeal to me. So the following day, I was watching a documentary called Yellow Fever, the rise and fall of the Giallo. And people are praising Deep Red as a masterpiece and Dario Argento's best film. And I remember talking to Joe, and we were like, what are we missing here? Now, granted, the first time I watched Deep Red was a very long time ago. I rented it when I was younger. And to be honest, I hadn't watched it in years. It's probably been about 20 years. So when Joe and I watched it for the Video Nasties Challenge, I was so excited to watch it. And like I said, I just found myself waiting for it to end. Um, yeah, and it was very confusing because not only did the documentary claim that it was this masterpiece and his best film, but if you talk to a lot of Argento fans, not me, of course, but a lot of Argento fans claim that this is their favorite movie, the best um, Dario Argento movie ever made. Again, what am I missing? So rather than watch the 1 hour and 44-minute video on this Blu-ray, Joe and I kind of wanted to watch the same cut, a shorter cut of the film, if you will. So we decided to break out our multi-packs, since this has been in public domain for quite a few years, and find a cut of the film that is 1 hour and 40 minutes long, which is actually the US cut, according to IMDb. And I will say, I like the film a lot better. It was more evenly paced. It still had the stuff in it that I loved, like the violent kills, of course, the reveal at the end, and the dummy running across the floor, or the puppet, or whatever you want to call it. It kept all of the major plot points, but it did away with some of the stuff that I felt like was filler and was unnecessary. Both Joe and I both thought it was unnecessary. Now, I'm not going to get into extreme detail, but this cut right here, um, and probably to some degree, this cut as well, the hour and 44-minute cut, are similar. I heard the difference between this cut and this cut is they added some more of Daria Nicolodi, added some more of her parts in there as far as like banter. But as I said, we went with the hour and 40-minute cut. Now, one of the major differences I recognized right away is I love the soundtrack to this. I find it to be amazing. Of course, it's done by Goblin. And the movie gets right into it. And the credits are extremely quick. So you really don't get that buildup of the music in the very beginning. And I'll say that's probably the only thing I didn't like about this cut, to be honest. The rest of it, I found it was paced very well. Now, the things that are not in there, you're losing a little bit of graphic violence, which I kind of wish was still in there. You're losing all of the humor, and I find that a lot of different cuts of films, especially Italian, did that. For example, the difference between the evil eye and the woman that knew too much, or the girl that knew too much, the Bava film, is a lot of the humor was cut. I always wondered why they did that. Maybe to make it a little bit more serious for American audiences. Not sure. But they cut the humor and they cut most of the romantic scenes between David Hemmings and Daria Nicolodi. And they also cut a one of the subplots about the child in the screaming house. Now, this is still referenced in the um, hour and 40-minute cut, but they don't get into it like they get into it in the 2 hours and 6 minute long film. Like I said, I think this moves at a really great pace, and it was good to like the film based on the pacing that I got in the hour and 40-minute film. Sometimes the director's cut is not the cut you want to watch, and that's what I've always watched in the past. So I learned a little something from this, especially with movies that are a little bit on the longer side. I know Joe and I say that a lot can be cut out. Maybe it's better if they do. Tell us what you think. And don't forget to check out Joe's alternate cut for Deep Red, the Hatchet Murders. Remember, guys, physical media matters. And until next time, peace.